introduce ourselves. I'm Norman Krug, Sonoma Valley Inn. Tim?
Tim Zahner with the Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau.
Hunt?
I'm Bailey, Sonoma Valley Escapes.
Christopher? Chris
Fingerberg, the Lodge at Sonoma.
Dan?
Dan's left.
Oh, he's off?
We lost him.
Let's see here.
I'm sure he'll pop back on when he.
Yeah, let's see what happened just there. I'll try to see what's going on there, but
See if we can get him because we really need him for the vote.
and then Dan might hop on here in a second. So I wonder what has happened to Dan. It's just, you think we'd be used to this by now. And now Norm just dropped.
Norm's gone. Well, it's all good.
Hold on,
Hey,
guys.
there we go.
All right, guys. Well, we're still streaming, so here's what I'll do. I'm going to text them real quick. You guys look busy.
Yeah. All right. How's everything going, Chris?
Hunt, I mean, it's not hard for you to look busy, that's for sure.
Yeah. Right. Did you see how Tim was joking the other day? Did you see we took over both sides of the road for that tour on Monday?
Oh wow, no, I missed that.
Yeah.
That's
we got
awesome.
we parked a bunch of cars out to block the road.
Okay, we're all here now. Dan,
Okay, I'm sorry for the confusion there, but I'm back.
okay.
All right.
Dan, would you introduce yourself, please?
Dan Parks, in at Sonoma.
Okay, we are going to go out of sequence and do item number 4 today because one of our members has to leave at 8:15. And so would you, Tim, introduce item number 4 and for purposes of discussion?
Sure. So thank you, everybody, and good to see you all. And good morning, Dare. Good to see you. We just started, Dare, just to let you know, we moved up item number 4 because Hunt has to leave a little bit early. So we'll do that. So basically, this is part of our granting program. As you know, the TID actually serves multiple functions, one of which is to support marketing and promotion in the off season by supporting Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau's marketing efforts. But the other important part of it is the TID is in charge and provides grants for local events to bring in people predominantly during the off season from November through April. So we have some applications before us. There's 3 of them that we passed out, and I can go through them if you'd like me to do that.
Please.
Norm? Okay.
Yes.
So the first one is from Folklorico Showcase. That's the Mexican and Hispanic heritage-inspired dance troupe. They do really cool dance events. It's led by a man named Victor Ferrer, and he. Give me a second here. Victor Ferrer has been very active in promoting dance and making Sonoma Valley kind of this location where people come in and do this folklorico dance and making it kind of a center for that. He's got an event coming up in April, which is during the period. It's going to be at the Hannah Boys Center, and he's estimating up to 1,000 people will show up. Because this is a children's activity, a lot of times they bring in families, so people travel and they spend the night here. And he's kind of getting it off. So this is an event called Dia del Niño, and it will be promoted, excuse me. It's been going on since about 2014, although it's growing, which is really good to hear. And so he's asking for, let me go here, for the event, $5,000. So that's the first event. The second 2 events, we actually already know about them, so we've promoted them in the past. One is Sonoma Arts Live. They do the events, a theater series in the off season, really good stuff, predominantly at the Sonoma Community Center. And we funded them in the past, and they're asking this year for $5,000. And the last one is the Sonoma International Film Festival. I think all of us know about that major film festival. All of these are happening in the off season, and they're asking for $10,000 for a week-long event that does bring, in a lot of people. All of this money is already budgeted. I should mention that we did budget, I believe, $40,000 for grants. Let me double check and go there. But we are all. Yeah, we budgeted $40,000 for community event grants. We've given out no dollars yet in that category. Additionally, we had allocated money for heritage events, and we've allocated money for the Vintage Festival for that, but we do have money remaining in that budget as well. So in total, we have $40,000 left in community events and $15,000 in heritage events. So that's my presentation.
Thank you.
and happy to answer any questions.
Before we go into any questions, I'd like, Dare, if you'd introduce yourself and welcome to the meeting.
Thank you. I'm Dare Sturgis. I'm the Director of Marketing from MacArthur Place Hotel and Spa.
And you always look so beautiful in the morning.
Oh, thank you.
Casey, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sue, are you, if you're muted, Sue, that's, if you're able to speak, just say hello.
Yeah, hi, Sue Casey. I'm here.
Thanks,
On the
Sue.
road.
Would you introduce yourself, Casey, please?
Oh, Sue Casey, City Manager for City of Sonoma.
Thank you so much. At this point, I think we should take and for purposes of discussion, I'm going to ask that we have a motion to do each one of the three individually, starting with the film festival at 10,000. May I have a motion on the table to approve the $10,000 request for the Sonoma International Film Festival?
I move to approve.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Good.
One question though on that is $10,000, is that in line with what we've done historically?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's what we did last year.
Okay, all right, perfect. Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. Are there any, the motion's on the table for $10,000 to be approved for the Sonoma International Film Festival. Do we have any questions of Tim or any of the other members regarding the $10,000 sponsorship? I don't see any questions, so therefore I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor of granting $10,000 to the Sonoma International Film Festival for March 22nd through 26th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's passed. Can I have a motion now on the Sonoma Showcase Children's Day, April 22nd, 23rd, for a request for $5,000?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Tim or anybody else regarding this request? Okay, and seeing none, I'm calling for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Unanimously passed. I'm now going to call for the last items, the Sonoma Arts Celebrate the Greats, December 22 through April 23rd, a request for $5,000 grant. May I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Are there any questions regarding the $5,000 grant? Any comments or questions? I seeing none, I'm going to call for the question. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed. Tim, you can record all three grants have been unanimously voted on and approved by the board of the TID. And I thank you. And thank you, Hunt, for staying around to participate in the vote. We appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. I'm going to jump off at this point. You guys have a great day. Okay.
Thank you. And again, good luck, Hunt. There being no public on the line that I can see, so we're not going to have public comment. There are no consent items. And with that, Dan, we're going to go right into the financial report.
Okay, I think in general, our finances are in great shape. We're just 1 month after another doing a little better than we expected to do. We've made a bunch of our contributions to the advertising fund and to the Visitors Bureau operations. We still, with this month's check from the city for collections last month for the month before, and so which is just running us into summer. We have about a little over $300,000 in our regular account, and $100,000 in our catastrophe response account. We are just getting into the season where advertising wise, we need to think about getting ourselves out there more. And I know Tim and company will be working. They manage our advertising for us. And even though things are going very well, winter is coming.
Oh.
And as usual, we at least as usual lately, we don't know what to expect. So we better be ready. Any questions?
Any questions at all? Dan and Tim, Dan, could you present for the next meeting a balance sheet showing us where we are cash wise and comparable to last year? So we see, and I'm also going to ask Tim for the next meeting, if you'd sit with your board at the Bureau and present any comments or requests for any additional funding that you think we may need for this winter, because Dan, as Dan pointed out, the winter is always a slow time, and we do have more money this year than we had last. And I think we should take a look as a board and make it an agenda item. So if we decide to give you additional funds, we can vote on it at the next meeting. Is that okay with the two of you gentlemen?
Yes, and I think we need to think in terms of if there are other things that fit within our purview, we should be thinking about those, because I do believe as we analyze, we'll have more money than we expected to have. And we're here to make that count.
Well, I think then you would say to Tim, in addition to advertising and marketing, we would look at a broader use of the money to help promote the off-season business. So you word it so that whatever we decide to do in October, we can vote on it, Tim.
Okay.
Yeah, because you have to have it on the agenda in advance, as I understand it, in order to vote. Thank you, Dan, and a great report. And is the city going to provide us this month with the collection analysis like they do, Dan, or do you have that? DOT collection.
They did send it to Tim and
I can forward it after this meeting. I have to find it from Ryan, or I can try to put it up here real quick. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I think the general managers all would like to see how they're doing compared to the rest of the community.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll forward that just so Darren and Chris know that's the list that Ryan from the city gives us that shows us where we are in the breakout. Let me find the most recent one and I'll forward that to you guys.
Okay.
and we have to keep in mind that that's sort of historical, because it's collections last month for what happened the month before. So
We find it's a good analysis to see how Sonoma Valley Inn is doing compared to the rest of the Sonoma hotel community. And I think each one of us should have that opportunity to look at it. Yeah. Yeah, I know it's 30 days or 60 days old before we get it.
right.
Okay. Tim?
Yes.
Thank you, Dan, very much for your report. Tim, can you give us an update on the marketing at the Bureau level?
Sure. And Chris, you'll have to, and Daniel, sit through this again, because I know we just had our board meeting yesterday, which is very similar. So I'll tell you what we're doing. So as you mentioned, we are going into our planning phase for the off season and going to start ramping up our marketing. Probably the biggest expenditure and things that we're working on now is the lighting of the Plaza event. That's November 19th. That will be on the Plaza, but that really kicks off the holiday off season. Remember, that's the Saturday before Thanksgiving and goes until mid-January. We kind of have the lights up. It looks all beautiful, and really working with local businesses to start promoting their off-season events now. That's probably my biggest challenge, is getting the harvest-minded businesses and all the hotels, you guys are so busy, to kind of start looking 3 months down the road and getting the words out there. Hopefully you've been listening to our podcast, the Sonoma Spiel. We've had a lot of different good groups on there. It is a nice way to help get people involved in hearing what we're doing. We've had Transcendence Theater on there. I'm sorry, I have a cat. I'm sorry. We've had Transcendence Theater on there. We've had Sonoma Valley Chamber of Commerce. We're having farm trails. Always looking for guests to talk about Sonoma Valley, and it's been pretty successful. It's a quick way to get good discussions about what's happening in Sonoma, and people really like it. We did do the marketing roundtable for everybody. We did up at Tips Roadside. Norm, I actually took it on the road to go outside of Sonoma, and we got good response because I think it's good to get into other parts of the valley as well. But we had about 35 people show up, which was really good. On September 28th, okay, next week, we're going to Sacramento to present to Visit California. And so there's 73 staffers at Visit California, and we'll be talking about Sonoma and what's here. They do for California what we do for Sonoma. So that's a really good group to talk to. We'll be bringing wine. I'm trying to get some wine grapes lined up and someone to pour some wine to kind of talk about it. The website, we're still doing the redo on that. We're still on track to launch that in Q1 of 2023, and excited that I'll be much more able to have more content on it, like the blogs and things like that, and the video. And then finally, we did our Plaza tasting room networking. Chris, thanks for hosting that. We had 8 tasting rooms kind of get together and talk to each other so they could start co-marketing each other so we could keep people around the plaza and do a better job of that. We learned a little bit from it. We'll probably roll that out every 2 to 3 months and then also do that in other parts of the valley. But really, we want these businesses to be able to cross-refer each other. And I'm going to mute myself for a second. Norm, turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you. Tim, have we followed up with the Hillsburg TID in joint promotions?
We have, and I'm waiting for them to tell me when's a good time to come back and do a meeting. So I will do that, Norm.
Okay, would you let us know? Because I thought the first meeting, there was a lot of enthusiasm on both sides, and I'd like to capture that if we can.
I will. I'll talk to Talia today and see what's going on. She was going to schedule another meeting. It didn't happen.
Okay.
I have a very angry cat on my shoulder. Hold on.
Is that really you, that picture?
That's really me, Norm. I'm going to update that. Thanks.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions regarding our marketing for Tim? Anybody? Dan, Chris, Dare?
No.
Okay. We're all doing very well. And again, Tim, I know it's all because of what you're doing, not because of anybody else, what we're doing.
Correct.
Right?
I would like to take credit for everything. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to know, Sue, the city manager, would like to chime in and to update us to what's going on at City Hall. And thank you, Tim, again for your input.
Thank you.
Just a couple of things that council did vote last night to remove all the parklets by October 31st. Sort of a surprise vote on us, but so that was the vote last night. And as everybody knows, we have 6 candidates running for council, and 3 of our incumbents are not running. So we're in a little bit of a state of flux right now, doing the best we can with that. I think that's about it for the city right now.
Is there anything at all happening? This is Norm. Is there anything at all happening with Darius's project?
With the Kenwood Investments Sonoma Hotel. So
yeah.
I know that we're looking at an EIR for them, and another EIR. That is probably where they are right now. So still in the process.
Okay, so the project's still live, and you're just starting over again with an EIR, right?
Yes, that's right. The project is still live.
Okay. Thank you so much, and we appreciate all your help working with us.
Sue, can you take a minute and tell us a little bit more about the parklets going away. And what
Did they-
happened, I imagine most of us weren't able to attend that meeting.
Well, there was a lot of conversation last night about, or discussion about the parklets, and the vote was, to just that, to finally just say, that we're done with these current parklets. They, of course, were voted to talk about, or actually, they're starting a Plaza Downtown Master Plan. And that was really the focus of, eventually they'd like to have possibly do some sidewalk extensions and, do sidewalk dining. But there was it was a 3-2 vote to remove the parklets. So
All of them, including First Street West or First Street East.
And First Street West was actually always, that was going to be reopened on October 31st. That was the vote actually on June 1, that they had already decided to reopen that. So that's always been, but all the parklets came up last night.
Dan, do you have any other question?
Well, yeah, it was, I'm surprised by the decision, and I'd like to understand better why it happened, but it seemed like some of them were good things, some of them were not so good, and it's just, I'd like to understand what happened.
Yeah, and it was somewhat of a surprise vote. It came actually at the last, on August 17th. They brought that up. There was a motion to, change the date from April 1st, which they had originally voted, and then it was decided that the meeting wasn't noticed that way, and they wanted time for the business to be able to comment. So they actually extended it till the 12th, and one of the council people was absent, so they extended it to last night, and then the vote was 3-2 to remove the parklets.
All right.
Anybody else have any comment on Susan's report? Again, we always thank you for all your help you give to TID and the community, and we appreciate City Hall and particularly your efforts, Susan. The next item would be the approval of the July 14th minutes. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thank you very much. Thank you, dear. And a second? A second, please.
I'll second.
Just second
And
it. Okay.
would you, at this time, I'd like to ask if there are any comments, questions, or corrections on the meeting notes of July 14th.
I don't think I was there, so I think I have to abstain from this one.
Okay, we'll note that. With that exception, is there any other comment or remark on these? If not, we're calling for the questions with a notation, Tim, that Dan Parks is abstaining. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Being none opposed, we are approving the minutes. Do any members of the board have any other subject they'd like to bring up this morning for our attention or for discussion? There being none, I'm going to call for a motion to adjourn. Can I have such a motion?
Motion.
You're the only one who wants to go home.
Dare made the
Can I
motion
have
to
a
adjourn.
second?
Second.
Okay,
Dan-
all
Dan
those in
seconded.
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
aye, it is unanimous. Anybody opposed?